Hey, everybody. I got a heavyweight today. I got a medical doctor who knows what he's talking about because he's been talking about it for a long, long time. I ain't going to say how long, but it's been a long time. And he's looking good. He's healthy. And now we got him on Strong Inspirations. So hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button, hit that notifications button, tell somebody about Strong Inspirations. And get your copy of my book, Black Business Book. It's over 200 facts on Black history. We talk about the first Black medical schools and the first Black doctors. I got a documentary on the same topic called Business in the Black. It's similar, but the movie got interviews with people whose family had a business in the early 1900s. The book has got more facts. So you really need to get both of them. But then that's what we're doing here. We're coming at you strong often. And so the last week or so ago was the honorary celebration of Dr. King's birthday. But and we did a little video on it, but today I was able to catch up with a gentleman who's gonna tell you some story about how he and Dr. King came together. I have with us a Dr. William Anderson, right? I said doctor.
Right, yes.
Dr. Anderson, tell us a little bit about yourself. When did you go to medical school? May I ask you that, and where did you go?
Well, I went to medical school in Des Moines University, but in as much as you mentioned the beginning, all of us had a beginning, but it is more important where you wind up than it is where you begin. But at the same time, I want everybody to know that I was born and reared in a small town in rural Georgia, in rural southwest Georgia. The town was Americus.
How did you become a medical doctor? Where did you go to medical school?
I went to medical school at Des Moines University, Des Moines, Iowa. Now you may ask, how in the world can a black from southwest Georgia wind up
Right.
Des Moines, Iowa? And, well, it's a long story, but let me give you the short version of it. My father knew I wanted to be a doctor. I had no idea how I was going to get there because no one in the history of my family had become a doctor.
Right.
I told my father I wanted to become a doctor, and I did everything that I could do as an elementary school person, student, high school student, everything that I could do that even related even remotely to medicine.
Right.
In my backyard, in America, my mother let me have a clinic in my backyard. So she warned all the neighbors. See, she says, be careful of your dogs, your cats, your chickens, because my son will treat them, operate on them, whether they need it or not, because he is eager to become a doctor, and we have no idea how he's going to get there because no one in the history of the Anderson family had become a doctor. So after I had gone to Fort Valley State. You might have heard of Fort Valley State College. It was a very small school in the middle of Georgia. While I was at Fort Valley State, World War II was going on. And, of course, I was able to convince my mother to let me push my age up a little bit. I wanted to get into the Tuskegee Airmen. Those of you who don't know about Tuskegee, it's still there.
Yeah.
And one of my daughters is the physician for Tuskegee University.
Okay.
But anyway, I knew of the black pilots, and I knew that the regular Air Force would not take them.
Sure.
Unless they developed Tuskegee Airmen, and they still exist, by the way, as an organization, social organization, if not a fighting group. Now, movies have been made about the Tuskegee Airmen, the finest fighting airmen in the history of the United States.
Now, let me ask you this. If you don't mind, I ask you, what year was this when you went to medical school? When was this?
Late 1940s, early 1950s.
Okay. And you went straight after undergraduate, or were you older at the time?
no. I was not old enough and I was not an undergrad, no. I had only finished 2 years of college and I started to apply into medical school, and I was turned down by every medical school in the United States and many foreign countries because, number one, many of them wanted you to have a degree from college. I did not have a college degree. It was not required. Let me say that. A degree from college is not required to get into medical school. However, right, there is and was a requirement that still exists. The college that you go to must be accredited. Otherwise, they do not want to accept the credits.
I got you.
Now, my good fortune was my father happened to have a doctor who was a graduate of Des Moines University.
Okay.
And on the faculty there, and he was of color.
Really?
He said to my father, I can help your son to get into medical school. And yeah, right, I've heard that before. He said, well, come,
sure.
come and talk to me.
Sure.
So I went to talk to him, and I found out that he was an osteopathic physician, family physician, had a big practice going. But then I said to my dad, I don't want that. I want to go to one of the big medical schools. You don't want to go to Meharry or Howard. That's where I wanted to go. Well, they said, you don't have much of a chance there. Those are highly competitive. And of course, most of them came from colleges that were accredited. Your chances are slim to none. But then Dr. Reese, he was on the faculty there as professor of biochemistry.
Sure.
That opened the door because he was able to call the dean and say, the son of my best friend wants to get into your medical school. And of course, because he was a respected professor,
right,
had attended and graduated from there, the dean said, oh, well, yeah, all right. You know, we can't turn down an interview, so have him come out here.
Right.
So I went out to Des Moines, a hick town, by the way, a lot of racism in that town. I want you to know that also.
Sure.
And when I applied, they said you have to qualify. There are qualifying exams a lot of people do not know, even after you finish college. I had not finished college, though, but even after you finish college, there are qualifying exams to get into medical school, all medical schools.
Sure.
Well, for Des Moines University, the qualifying examinations were Ohio Reading Comprehension or Minnesota Multiphasic. I passed the same day.
Wow!
I took the exam, started early in the morning. By the end of the day, the dean said, you have passed our entrance exam. You're in.
Oh, unbelievable. Beautiful.
I never, ever looked back. Went back down home. I was married, had a couple of kids. I said to my wife, I've been accepted in medical school, honey, so we don't have any money. I think the tuition was very high, it was like $600 a year, a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I said, there's no way I can afford it. So, but I will come back, maybe Christmas, maybe New Year's, maybe Easter.
Yeah.
But then I started school out there. Before I got there, though, I had a year that I had to use because with my military background, and that is another story, Tony. I did in the Navy.
Sure.
So I had some educational benefit from that. And so, but you had to use it within a certain period after you got out.
Right.
So I looked around to see, well, how am I going to use up this and get something of value? And I did not know anything about a military science school, but when I saw that curriculum, I said, damn, those things can help me in medical school.
Okay.
I mean, they had anatomy, they had physiology, they had biochemistry. I said, those are for dead people. They don't need that. But that was in the curriculum.
Right.
So I signed up. I said, well, I can get this year in that I must have to maintain my eligibility for GI educational benefits.
Right.
So when I finished that medical school, finished that military science school in Atlanta.
Right.
I still had not been accepted at a medical school, but I was on that list in Des Moines.
Right.
But anyway, so I went to Mercury Science School and I finished. I still had not gotten into medical school. And there was a mortuary in Montgomery, Alabama. Got that? Montgomery, Alabama.
Mhm.
You're going to see how this all comes together in a
I
minute.
got you. I got you. Go, let's go with it.
And who was in Montgomery, Alabama? Rosa Parks.
Right. Okay. Now we're doing it. Now we're doing it.
Ralph David Abernathy.
Yes.
And who was to come to Montgomery? Martin Luther King.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Before he was a Dr. Martin Luther King.
Yes. Yes.
He wasn't so right here. Before that, he went to school in David T. Howard in Atlanta.
Right.
And let me throw in another coincidence. My brother-in-law, you do know I got married while I was at Fort Valley.
Right. Right.
She came from Atlanta, and her brother and Martin Luther King were the very best of friends. They loved each other. I got to know Martin before I went to Montgomery. And we used to pal around together. And then he decided, I'm going to become a minister. He always wanted to be a minister as much as I wanted to be a doctor.
Right.
So we both parted ways in Atlanta. He went on to Crozier Theological Seminary at Boston University, and I wound up going to Montgomery, Alabama, still trying to get into medical school.
Right.
But the owner of the funeral home that said we need a mortician, and it is coincidental that the mortuary science school was well known as only one in the entire South. And if you owned the funeral home and you had to have a embalmer, mortician,
Right.
you go to the mortuary science school. So I was called on to go to Montgomery.
Right. Right.
Now, you're not going to remember what I said a couple of minutes ago. In Montgomery was Ralph David Abernathy.
Yeah. Sure. Sure. Sure.
He one of my classmates at Alabama State College for Negroes. I had not met Rosa Parks, but a few years after I got there was a Montgomery bus boycott.
Right.
Also, you would not know that while I was there, Dexter Avenue Baptist Church was looking for a preacher.
Right.
And after I left, they called the preacher, and who do you think the preacher was?
Yeah. Dr. King.
Uh-huh. So can you imagine now, Anderson didn't have anything to brag about, had not accomplished anything, but he wound up in a city that produced Rosa Parks, Ralph Abernathy, and Martin Luther King Jr.
You go to medical school, you come out of medical school 5 years later or something like that, right?
Now, of course, mind you, remember I had a year as a mortician.
Okay, so that helped you.
I did not have enough money to pay tuition to go to medical school. So I was able then, it is coincidental, that the medical school needed a mortician to prepare the cadavers for them to dissect.
Oh, man. Oh, that worked out.
You can't make this stuff up.
Yeah, right. That's how the Lord worked. Yeah, you can't do it.
History, you can't make this stuff up.
Yeah.
So I offered my services as a mortician. And because a mortician had to also be trained in anatomy, so I got to teach anatomy for the medical school because I was smarter than the professor.
Right, right.
I got to prepare the cadavers for the anatomy class.
Right, right.
And what church do you think I joined?
I know you joined Dexter.
Uh-huh.
I know you joined Dexter.
I was still going to school at Alabama State, which was then called Alabama State College for Negroes.
Yes, yes.
So what I'm saying is, the man that I worked for, his name was Lovelace. That was the funeral home.
Yeah.
He said to me when he hired me, I want you to continue to go to school. There are not many blacks that ever get out of college. I want you to continue to go to school. I said, but I'm doing this to one medical. I don't care about that. He says, go out to Alabama State and get your curriculum schedule, bring it to me, and you can work when you're not in class or studying. Can you imagine? He
Yeah.
didn't know me from beans, but he had a high regard for the value of education. He said, get your class schedule, come back to me, work when you can, when you're not
Right.
in. Well, the rest of that story is I finished Alabama Straight, went back to Atlanta. I still had not gotten accepted in medical school. I went back to Atlanta and taught mortuary science at the mortuary science school for the next couple of years. And I went
Okay.
to university and was working on my master's degree when I got a call from Des Moines. You have been accepted.
Wow. What a story. So now you go to medical school. Let me skip some years. You go to medical school, you graduate from medical school, you come out, and do you open up a practice in Atlanta, or what happens there?
I opened up a practice in Albany, Georgia. The students were very eager to integrate, some of them.
Right.
Together, we could not go downtown to Babe's Pizza Parlor and get a sandwich together. There was no place in town where I could stay. There were a couple of little hotels. They would not take a black.
Mm.
The only time I had a room before I rented a little house was at the YMCA. So today people say, why are you still sending money to YMCA? The YMCA allowed me to stay in a room because motel wouldn't take a black.
Wow.
Well, I finished though. I wanted to get an internship. That's the first step toward a residency. That you're getting ready now to go into practice, and you had to have at least 1 year if you wanted to be in practice.
Right.
And so a black was not accepted at most hospitals in the country unless you came out of Howard.
Right. Right.
No. So the dean of the college at Des Moines University called the administrator at a hospital in Flint, and he said, I want you to take one of my students. Oh, no, we can't take any blacks. He said, you don't understand. He's not like that. We got that. He's not like all those others.
Right. Right. Right.
He's a hard worker. He knows how to get along with people. And he demonstrated something that most could not handle. And I'll give you that side story, then I'll
I
give
got you.
the lady who was head of the Department of Biochemistry happened to bump into me when we both attended an official Des Moines University social function. The dean had said when I got there, you are not to integrate, socialize with white women while you're in Des Moines. Here is an official function now. She's there on one side of the room, and I'm over with a bunch of my classmates in the other side of the room. And she called one of my classmates. She said, come here, go tell Anderson I want to dance with him. I said, whoa. The dean said, if you integrate, you're out of here. If you don't dance with her, you're going to flunk biochemistry and you're out of here. What do, Tony?
Good question.
Huh?
That's a good question.
I wanted to get out of medical school.
So you dance with her or no?
I went and took a drink. Here's the interesting thing. Nothing happened. From that day on, to our knowledge, there was never any other segregation at Des Moines University.
Is that right?
Blacks and whites freely mixed. From
You
that,
must have did a real good dance.
well, put it this, the others were afraid to try it. But I had been getting in trouble all my life, so I was used to getting in trouble.
Yeah.
Nothing happened.
Oh man. So now let me fast forward a little bit. So you get out of medical school.
Okay.
When do you go to Albany, Georgia?
Yeah, after I finished my internship in Flint, also segregated, I went to Albany, Georgia. Great practice. There were two black doctors that were there. One of them was really Joe Reese. He was the one who was a graduate of Warren University, and he encouraged me there. He said, "You can come in with me if you like, or if you want to establish a practice by yourself, I'll help you get started." Because he was getting ready to wind down.
Right.
The other one was Jake Shirley, who never did want. He didn't want to grow. Some doctors are satisfied with what they have,
Yeah, sure.
share, and they don't want to grow. That was him. So I went to practice, and I had all the patients I could possibly want. They would not let me practice in the hospital. And
Yeah.
no black doctor had ever practiced in that hospital until years after I had left.
Wow.
But now, while I was there, is when the Students Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, they're called SNCC.
Yeah, I think I heard that name.
That's when they decided we're going to get the people in Albany registered to vote. That was an uphill battle here. But I saw them carrying groups of people downtown to try to get them registered to vote. I saw how they were intimidated, they were harassed. And I was up in my office seeing all these patients, but I looked out the window and I said, wait a minute. These kids are just trying to get people registered to vote, and they were being harassed, intimidated, they were deterred, they were turned away, and the clerk would leave and go on a 16-hour lunch break or something, some excuse not to register them. So I went home that night, told my wife, and we had 3 children, probably 4 by then. But anyway, like Martin King used to say every once in a while, yeah, something moved other than the movement. But anyway,
Yeah.
I went home and I said to my wife and my children, I want you to know something. There's a group of youngsters, primarily from college, some from high school, but they are agitating the city, but for a purpose. They are insisting on being given the opportunity to register and vote. And for that, they were being rejected, they were being harassed, they were intimidated. So I said, they are not doing that for themselves. They're doing that for us.
Right.
And you. All right, what are you going to do about it? I'm going to join them. Are you nuts? A little bit. But I'm going and get in that line with the students. And I did. More people followed because here's now an old man. I might have been 35 years old. Here's an old man out there joining the students who were just trying to get us ready for. That's not for him. Us registered to vote. So we were having mass meetings literally every night, Tony. Every night we had a church, either Shallow Baptist Church or Mount Zion Baptist Church, where the museum is, incidentally, if you ever go back there.
Right.
I said, they're doing that for us, and we started having these rallies every night. Then one night I said, tomorrow we're going to march downtown. I know they've intimidated us. I know many of them might get arrested, some might get beaten, but we're going to do it. So we went downtown, and we marched, and they did arrest several hundred. Now, who are they going to blame for them being in jail? The leader.
Hold on. Let me back up. So you got so active that you were actually speaking at the mic at this point.
I went down out of my office and got in front of the march. That was no mic. Out in front.
Yeah, but I got you. Yeah, I got you.
And I was arrested along with them. Every night I said we had a mass meeting. And every day then we had demonstration. So that night I told my wife and children, it is very likely before this is over, your father, your husband, will be arrested. Wow. And I was the next day. And people followed me to jail because they figured, it must be all right. He's our doctor and he's going to jail. But no, they didn't care whether you're a doctor, lawyer.
Right.
But you out there demonstrating, trying to take away this rights from the white folks. But no, all of us were arrested. Now I'm sitting in jail with a couple of 300 people that have followed me.
Okay, let me stop you right there. My next question is, and you see these instances where black protesters are arrested. So you're arrested, you're handcuffed,
All of that.
you're put in a police bus, you go to jail.
Yeah.
It's like 200 of y'all sitting in the cell.
Yeah, right.
Okay, and then somebody bails you out. Is it a scary situation? What's that like?
No, when you go, you refuse to come out. We didn't do that. No one that got into the demonstration was bailed out. We did not. If you feel like you got to come out, don't get in line. We were going to stay there until the city changed, and all we were asking for is give us a commission made up of white or blacks to study the problems of race segregation.
So how long were you in jail?
In and out about a year, but that's all right. The significant thing, though, is all of these people that went to jail did not have the resources that I had back home. In other words, John Chadwell was director of the choir at Albany State College. He was there to help. There were others who did not go to jail that were willing to take care of my family, like the Chadwells, take care of my family.
Wow.
So I'm sitting in jail, though, with all these people, and yes, you get kind of restless and eager. You sit in jail. It's exciting for a day or two, and then holy smokes, you want to get out. But then
let me go back to the question again. So yeah. You were in jail, like the first time you got arrested, how long were you in jail?
I was in and out for about 2 years, but what does that matter? I didn't stay a solid period of time, but I was in jail. It doesn't matter whether I was there for 2 days or 2 months. I can't tell you how long I stayed because I was in and out, in and out, in and out, because every time they let me out, I'd go back in.
You go back in because you went back to protesting.
Correct.
Oh, I see.
Now, here's the point.
I see.
Those who went to jail because they were following me, I asked them to go. They were looking for me then to get them out.
I see.
And so I don't know how I'm going to get them out. There were only 3 black lawyers in the entire southern United States that would take a civil rights case. One of them happened to be in Albany, Georgia, C.B. King. And let me interject again, parenthetically. C.B. King was an outstanding lawyer. Yes, they gave him hell. No, they didn't want him in the courtroom because he was smarter than most of the white lawyers down there.
I got you.
Many years later, they were building a brand new federal court building in Albany, Georgia. And who do they name it after? C.B. King.
Wow. Full circle.
When I was in jail and had these couple of hundred people following me, I remembered. You came from Montgomery, Alabama, yeah? You do know that you were classmate of Abernathy, yeah? Classmates, yeah? You were good friends of Martin Luther King, who became pastor of Dex Avenue Baptist Church, yeah?
Right.
And Rosa Parks was the spark of the Montgomery bus boycott. That was a success.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you've got 3 heavyweights in civil rights who know you, have worked with you, and they will come and help you if you just ask. And I did. And they came to Albany.
Dr. King came to Albany.
Dr. King came to Albany, and I'm going to give you the last story before I stop.
Yeah.
We all got arrested. King, not Rosa Parks, but King and Abernathy and I, and we 3 were put in a cell together.
Wow.
And King was scheduled to go on Meet the Press that Sunday morning. And we were sitting in jail on Saturday afternoon. And the chief of police kept coming back. You got to get out of here, King. You got to get out of here. You're supposed to be on Meet. He wanted him out of jail because when we were in jail, the town literally stopped, stood still. Nobody would come to town. Nobody buy anything. So it was hurting business.
Okay.
Thing that white folks hated worse than blacks in demonstrating, it was doing without money. They love money. They love money more than they hate blacks.
Sure.
So
Sure.
Martin said this: one of us has to go out of here and be on Meet the Press. No, not me. No, not me. No, I never had them. I said, okay, here's what we'll do. We'll draw straws. You've heard of short straw.
Sure. Sure.
He put three straws in his hand, and we drew straws. I drew the short straw. He said, okay, Andy, you're going out of jail and you're going to be on Meet the Press. I said, I can't do anything. No. You're going to be on Meet the Press. Yes, I went out of jail, and there was somebody there to meet me, and the staff was there to meet me, make sure I got to New York. Spent the night with them browbeating me. I'm talking about they were asking me every kind of question that they thought might be asked on Meet the Press. So that Sunday morning, I went on Meet the Press. Did not miss a question.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And so eventually they because of your actions, what happened in Albany?
Things begin to wind down. They don't just go to a point and stop, say no more activity. No, there were still boycotts, there was still demonstrations, there was still mass meetings. But some have recorded that Albany was a failure for Martin Luther King. I say they can say that because they do not perceive the changes that were not visible as you look at the places are still closed. You can't get in the library and they closed down the swimming pool. But look at the change in the attitudes and the perceptions of the white people. In other words, would you believe that there were many white people that thought you colored people were satisfied?
Okay.
Huh?
I got you.
So
I got you.
the perception was, y'all northerners going away from here. Our niggas were satisfied. That was the first thing, perception. But then when they saw that one, who I used to call boy, and I thought he was happy, he was out there demonstrating against me.
Yeah, I
That's
got
my business. So no, he was not happy. I had a different perception from reality. Are you with that, Tony?
you. Yes, yes,
And
yes.
well, then now, if you recognize he's not happy, that means he wants to change.
I got you.
So if I want him to change, that means an attitude has to change. I can't treat him like a slave forever.
I got you.
He's not going to accept that.
I got
So think about those two words, perception and attitude.
you. Wow.
Perception, whites thought blacks were happy, hence your heads, no. Then once they realize that these black people are fighting back. So we got to change our attitude.
I got you.
And get them to say massa and bow down every time they come into my presence. So that is less tangible than opening up a swimming pool or opening up a library or opening up a store.
I see. I got you.
But once you have changed your perception of that other person, you change your attitude.
I got you.
Brother.
Woo!
That's it.
Man, that was so powerful.
I'm going to sing you a long bill, Tony.
Let me ask you one more last question. So after that, did you do any more with Dr. King? Did you know what I mean?
He and I were close friends. Every opportunity. Mind you, not long after we came out of jail down in Georgia and things began to settle down and they began to open up things and the chief of police came my best friend and eventually, would you believe, the chief of police became black? Would you believe the mayor became black? Would you believe that black doctors could get on the hospital staff? I'm saying it did not happen like overnight.
I got you. I got you.
But I felt comfortable in leaving Albany after these changes fell in place because the attitude had changed from that perception change. So things kept getting better, so much so that a good friend of mine who was a doctor became not only on the staff, head of the department of surgery, he eventually became chairman of the board of the hospital.
I got it.
And I'm saying, when I was down there to speak, was a few years later, the mayor was black.
I got you. Dr. A, we could talk forever, but we're going to stop there because you have given me and the people who are going to watch this video some strong information. Talk about it. Hey, everybody, this is what we do is strong inspirations. I give it to you straight, no chaser. I give it to you from the people who know. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notifications button, hit whatever button you need to hit so that you can stay in touch with us. Dr. Anderson, thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart to being on here and sharing that story. Everybody, thank you. I guess we out.